and welcome back to Read the World. My name is Derek Main, and I review translated literature. Hopefully, just now there was a new intro. My brother-in-law, actually, as bad as I am at video editing, as you guys can tell, my brother-in-law actually does it, that's his job. He's a video editor. So when he saw my intro, he was kind enough to save me from myself. And I've put a link in the description to his portfolio and his work in case anyone's interested. Of course, there's also a link to the electronic musician who provides the music. So hopefully that happened. If not, I'm just cranky and I have an old intro because I didn't figure out how to cut properly. Today I'm really excited. Our review is Fate by Jorge Consiglio, translated by Carolina Orloff Fionn Petch, and this is Charco Press. So because it's Charco Press, which has my favorite visual aesthetic covers and books as pieces of art, we have to talk about this tremendous design and cover. Between the colors, the little floating eyeballs, the paper feel. I know that's kind of a weird thing, but like for book nerds, it's such a cool thing when like the cover has this great feel. Such a tremendous volume. I really enjoyed this book. I'm excited to talk about it and to give 3 excerpts from it. So this is a slim novel, maybe about 120 pages or so. And you're going to follow the story of 4 people. So an older married couple, and well, I guess 5 people because someone else, a co-worker of the woman is a part of the story as well. So the older married couple with a co-worker of the woman, so those 3 kind of, and then a younger couple that is newly in love or, finding each other, that kind of thing. So the first thing I want to talk about is the author's note. So I think Charco Press does this for a lot of their titles where there's an author's note in the beginning. And in the author's note, the author talks about, obviously, fate. The thematic quality of the book being, what fate is predestined for us, what role do we play in our own fate, this kind of thing. What I find interesting about that is I did not get that at all from the book. I loved the book. I'm going to talk about why I loved it. But I didn't get the overall huge theme and title and what the author is saying, this is what it's about. It wasn't there for me. And I think that's interesting because it ties to my general belief that once an author puts something out into the world, it belongs then to the readers. And the readers, we bring our own experiences, our own reading past, our own lives, where we are in the moment to what we read. And in my case, the concept of fate was missing from the book and was only existed as the title and the author's note. And I actually saved the author's note for last. I like them a lot, but I always save it for last because just like reviews, I don't typically want to be primed to think anything. I want to engage with the work as the work on its own terms and then go back to the author's note. When an author explains his or her work, I'm stealing this comparison from another, I think from Fresson, although the sound of it makes me think it could be Via Matis. It also might just be a cliche that is well-known, well-trodden, and I just don't know. But an author explaining their work is sort of like, to me, a magician explaining how they do a trick. So it makes the trick just a little less exciting now, right? Because now you know how the trick is done. And one of the things I like about the way that a reader engages with an author, engages with the text, is what I talked about earlier about bringing your own experience to that. And, talked last time in the Dreamed Part by Rodrigo Fresson, that review, how I had that section about rereading and how when you reread, the work hasn't changed, but you have changed. And you reread to find out how you've changed. Well, you also read to find out where you are in your life and what new experiences you bring. So, I found that this book, what it did magnificently, what I loved about it, and the overall broader thematic quality that I gleaned from it, was during extraordinary events in our life, and I don't mean extraordinary like a meteorite hitting our house. I mean the kind of extraordinary events that we all share, but that are extraordinary to us when they happen. Falling in love, the middle-age malaise, infidelity, that first meet, that first time, so maybe not falling in love, but that first time when you meet someone and you feel that spark and that connection of whatever that is. Getting lost in your work. So if you have a hobby or a work you love, that sort of escapism. All of these things are extraordinary things that happen to us, to all of us. But while they're happening in the course of our everyday lives. So amidst that extraordinary is also the extremely mundane. We still eat lunch. We still do laundry. We still pick up kids. We still take dogs on walks. All of these mundane things exist while the extraordinary is happening alongside of it. That is what I really took from this work, because so much of this beautiful writing is the day-to-day. And as these big events to them are happening, much of the description and much of the text is engaged with the everydayness of so much of their activities while this is going on. So I'm going to start with literally page 1, the first paragraph, because it, as I went back and read it, described very well my experience of reading this book. Amir mixed onion, tomato, and avocado. He added salt, pepper, oil, and lemon. Nothing special, just a quick snack, a guacamole. He spread it over a piece of toast and ate it slowly. He had reverted to his habit of standing while eating. He took his time to chew. He savored the acidity while he let his mind catch in a tangle of ideas that, after a few minutes, wove together, generating a kind of atmosphere, something vague yet as vividly present as the taste of onion now dancing in his mouth. So you see we have a very ordinary action, and can you see how, the writing is tremendous, the translation is amazing, but a very ordinary action. He's making himself a snack. We're focusing on the chewing, on the taste of onion, the ingredients, these sort of mundane things, and in the midst of that, he has this thought, and how does it describe it? A tangle of ideas wove together, generating a kind of atmosphere. And that's what this book does really well. It generates a kind of atmosphere amongst those everyday, ordinary, routine kind of events. So I've got two more on page 48. All right, so this again, we're going to deal with the mundane in connection with the extraordinary and how these two things are happening and coexisting at the same time. They climbed a narrow set of steps and sat on a sofa in the corner. They both ordered Campari with orange juice, then switched to something else. They browsed through the menu and made their decisions according to names rather than ingredients. They stayed for 3 hours, spread-eagled over patterned cushions, their emotions so volatile, a current that coursed through their bodies from head to toe, that they felt exceptional somehow, even irreplaceable in each other's lives. The scent of the night, its honeyed exaltations, gradually cut them out as if they were made of paper, and plunged them into a dialogue that felt austere and sharp-edged. They talked about dead stars, black holes, and the value of keeping fit. So, again with the setup, we're just at a bar, we're ordering Campari orange juice, then something else. We're picking out what to eat. We're looking through the list of names. We're ignoring the ingredients. But then through it, this is how they feel. This is what their inner lives are like as this ordinary thing, ordering drinks and dinner and sitting with someone, is happening. Think about this if you're in a cafe, if you are at dinner, if you are in one of these, a public place like this. Look around at all the people and see dates, an older couple, friends, family, as they're eating, as they're ordering, as the waitress comes up or waiter comes up to take their order. In the midst of that, ordinary moment, something that you just view as an externality, is a tumultuous inner life of emotion and feeling exceptional and something grand going on. Not always, but often. And that connects to a type of empathy that I'm very interested in, which is seeing that inner life, just knowing it exists. You can't see it, you can't know it, but knowing it exists amongst this everyday, day-to-day, and knowing that people are complex emotional beings, and it makes me personally judge less. It makes me more curious, more open. The last section I'm going to read, page 69. This, again, similar theme, but also something to do with the importance of self, but within the larger universe that we inhabit. Then she relaxed. Suddenly she felt deeply tired, as if she'd just run a marathon. She closed her eyes and rested the back of her neck against the seat. A strong smell of air freshener suffused the car. Kesselman felt that this synthetic fragrance, which at any other moment she would have found revolting, tugged her away from uncertainty. In other words, it was a gateway to everyday life. She reached for her handbag, took out a small mirror, and looked at her lips. She moistened them with her tongue. She imagined that thousands of people crossing the city in taxis, were doing the same, exactly the same, at that very instant. To a point, she thought the harmony that brought them all together erased the very notion of individuality. Then, with her eyes still shut, she went a bit further still. She said to herself that she, with all her infidelity, neglect, secrets, and guilt, was simply performing a cliché that humanity had repeated over and over again since the beginning of time. So all of that inner life that I was just talking about, that explodes within you, makes you feel exceptional, makes everything feel so important, vibrant, and right here, makes you present. All of that is happening amidst a sea of billions of other people also feeling that way. And your mistakes as well as your successes play out over the course and have played out over the course of history before. So within that, there's almost a Buddhist sort of philosophy of appreciating your appreciating that you are exceptional. God, I don't know why words fail me sometimes. And your largeness within you, but your smallness and interconnectivity with everything else. As I just said that and expressed it out loud, I think I come to some understanding of what type of fate he may be getting at. Because within that, there is a pattern of behaviors that happened well before you, will happen well after you, and you're a part of this chain of humanity. The feelings that happened before you, after you, and you are part of this chain of humanity. And so how much of your own individual actions and decisions that led you to wherever you are were predestined, were your own fate, or a part of this larger interconnected world of which you are simply present. So I find that interesting. I really love this book. I encourage you to read it. I do think the writing is tremendous. The translation, of course, as always. And I think it will lead you to think like I did about many of your everydayness and how your everydayness corresponds to, interacts with, and mirrors sometimes that inner life. How those two lives that we lead are connected. So, for my next review, The Teacher by Michel Ben Naftali, and it is translated from the Hebrew by Daniela Zamir. It is from Open Letter. Before I do my review, I'm going to try to learn how to pronounce that name. I know that this is written by a woman. I look at that and I see Michael, even without the E, just my Americanized thing. Then I see Mikkel, so I kind of did like a Michelle, but that's not right. I'm going to try to get that before I do the review. But anyway, thanks as always. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if you've read Fate, if you're planning to. You know I love Charco Press titles. It's one of my favorite subscriptions I get. This one was an absolute gem. And as always, be good to folks.